This is the Marvel Spider-Man 2 Dualsense controller, so let's unbox it. Fairly standard unboxing. Flip the lid, turn the box over to let the inner one out, spin that round and open the door, making sure to catch the controller, take it out of the bag, and voila, pretty controller.
I am loving this controller. I love the texture on it. I love that this is a matte feeling and you can see the Venom symbiote coming across it. I love the little details with the white symbols on the face buttons, but the black symbols on the D-pad, which is a lovely nod to this, the whole white symbol across the chest. This is a nice controller. What I have here are the plates that can go onto the PlayStation 5. So rather than buying a whole new console, you can just buy the plates and add them onto your existing console to make it into one of these limited editions. So let's unbox these. We start with the sticky tab on top, which is stickier than I anticipated it would be. And lie this down, pull this lid, and as with most other PlayStation things recently, let gravity do the work. How do I then get into this? Looks like it might be an open from the side type deal. It is indeed. And then it should just be a slide out. So each plate is wrapped individually. This is for the disc drive version because that's the version of the PlayStation I've got. So we're going to do the disc side first. Oh, that is neat. That is really nice. Just the plain black with the spider logo towards the bottom of it. That's really nice. That is. It's slightly different texture than the main PlayStation, I feel, but that's pretty, that side. So we're now going to go for the flat side. Oh, you can already see inside that this is quite different to the other side. Oh yes, look at that. Give it a bit of a dust off. That is the other side of the plates. That is beautiful. The Venom symbiote screeching across, the red spider down the bottom. This looks really nice. Time to get it on. One of the beauties of the PlayStation 5 is that you can take these sides off and replace them with additional plates. So I'm going to take this base model PlayStation 5 and turn it into that limited edition Spider-Man 2 version. The only tool I'm going to need is a basic flathead screwdriver just to unscrew the base and take that off. So let's get into that. So now that we've got the base off, we need to get these sides off and then get these beautiful sides on, these lovely new plates. To do that, it should be fairly simple. It should just be a case of lying the console flat.
Now, unfortunately, my microphone stopped working at this point, so I'm going to have to give you a bit of a voiceover guide as to what we're doing to take these plates off and add the new ones on. To take the side plates off, what you're going to want to do is apply some pressure in two different directions. You put one hand up by the PlayStation logo on the flat side of the console and one hand steadying on the bottom. You're going to pull up slightly on the PlayStation logo corner, very gently, not a huge amount of pressure, and then apply some downward pressure towards the bottom of the console and the side will slip off as you see here. As the console is now open, you may want to clean it. A microfiber cloth to dust around it and just take most of the dust off will be great. You can add a teeny tiny bit of product or a damp cloth just to make sure that it picks up everything. But otherwise, just get your vacuum, stick it in this little hole here, and that will suck out all of the crap from inside the filtration system. The system has been designed to be cleaned, so utilize this moment to do that. Now we're going to do the same with the other side of the console, so that same back corner, put some upwards pressure on that, lift it away from the console and move the whole side plate down towards the bottom of the console, and you will now see that both sides are off. You can now access the internal of the console, you can see the SSD with the giant heatsink that I've got. You guys probably shouldn't do that one, but we are then ready to put our new side plates on after once again giving the internals of this other side a quick dust down, vacuum and clean. And that is your PlayStation 5 without any plates on, ready to receive the new ones. So we'll start with this disk drive because that's where we finished. We take our new black side plate, Spider-Man, and you've got lugs on it that will go into all of these lug holes. All you need to do is basically line one side of it up, so the side nearest to you, which would be these three. Line it all up, then give it a slight push down and up. So you're doing the opposite process to what you were doing previously, where you were lifting and pulling that way. You're now going to push and slide that way. Gentle with a little bit of force, but gentle enough, and you'll just feel it and hear it click into place like so. We're then going to flip the console over once more. Take the final plate, line everything up again. So once more, you only really need to line one side up, a little bit, pressure down and slide it up towards the top of the console. As you saw, I did that with 2 thumbs and just a bit of pressure on the top of the console with my hand. But here we are, folks. We're then going to place the stand back on it. Exactly the reverse of last time. So we can just turn the console upside down. Stand it up, line everything up on the bottom, very basic screwdriver, and there you have it, one limited edition Spider-Man 2 PlayStation 5 console. Add in the Dualsense controller, and that's the entire limited edition bundle set up ready to go. So it's finally here. Months of waiting, giant, like this is a big box. Like it's a big box. I've got no way to show you scale. There you go. That's the sort of scale we're talking about. It's about the size of my body. So we've got a giant box full of Spider-Man goodies. If I spin this round and show you the back, it's the same sort of marketing material you've seen online, but this is what is in the box. So I have done some pre-preparation on this and I've taken the sticky off this particular end that holds it all together. That's the wrong end. I've taken the sticky off this end, I should say. So I should now be able to nicely undo this. It's quite a weighty box, I'll give it that much. And then, as with everything else PlayStation this year, there's another box inside it. I don't quite know how to get this out best. This is the hardest thing in the world to get out. Good grief. Wow, that suckered on well. So once you've undone that box, once you've got through that box, you've got a giant box inside with the Venom spider logo upon it. Now, unfortunately, looking at mine, there is a scratch here. Looks like someone's taken a knife to it, so I'm gonna have to get in touch with Sony about that one because this has come from PlayStation Direct. So I'm definitely gonna have to get in touch about that scratch, see if there's anything that they can do there. But what we need to do is get into this box now. Handily, what they've done on this design is put
two tabs on the side that allow you to lift the lid off. So you pull on those tabs and look how easy that is. Just lifts the lid up, and then the final bit, you can take it off. So there's our beautiful front of this giant black box. Inside is a lot of packaging. I think most of this is to protect the giant 19 inches of Venom statue, but sitting right on top here, we've got the beautiful steelbook case, which if I just take that out and show to you guys there, that is your steelbook. It's got a front and back diorama. Again, it's that sort of promo imaging we've seen for Spider-Man thus far, but it is this beautiful glossy metallic color. It actually looks fantastic, that does. Just pop that in front of my beautiful cactus there. And then underneath that are some building instructions. It looks like the 19 inches of Venom statue comes in multiple different parts, so we're gonna have to put this together. So you've then got some cardboard packaging on top here in a beautiful red color that I am trying to pull out. There we go. And now we have Venom himself underneath. This is a huge, huge statue. It's monstrous. So I now need to try and get this out of the box. It just nicely unfolds. All the nice tissue paper around it beautifully unfolds. First thing I'm going to do is take out Dear Peter here. So we've got incredibly detailed Peter Parker from this particular game. Look at that suit. Look at the detail on this Spider-Man. It's fantastic. Like, he's even got prints on the bottom of his boots. So we've got Peter out. The next step is the big guy himself. This is an absolute monster. Look at that. Again, starting up at Miles, coming down, the detail, the quality is incredible. Look at these teeth. Each one seems to have been individually made or cut. There's a lot of detail going on in Venom. The spider logo upon him. If we come all the way down to the feet as well, look at these blending into the floor. And we're going to have a bit of construction because there's a hole in his shoulder here for Peter's web to go into, and that'll keep Peter standing proud. So let's get to finishing the build on him, eh? So the final thing to come out of this box is a teeny tiny little envelope, which I'm assuming is the web that we put Peter on top of Venom with. So I'm gonna make some space and we'll build this up so that we've got our full statue diorama. Okay, so here we are. This is the web, nicely detailed, intertwined, looking absolutely beautiful. The web is actually metal, whereas the rest of this feels like a resin of description, especially looking at Miles's lightning. It's definitely resin of some description. So this metal is going to be what's holding our dear Peter up. So I need to stick the thick end of it into Venom. It's got a flat edge on one end, and there is a little nook inside his shoulder. So we're gonna put that web in his shoulder there, and then there's a little hole in Peter's hand. That's where the other end of it is going to go. So if we gently place Peter on there, and he should sink all the way down, essentially. My days. That is a huge diorama. Like, you've got the size of the box here for a little bit of comparison. You've got me in here for comparison as well. But this is absolutely monstrous. To try and give you some idea of scale, here's one I made earlier. This is my Horizon Forbidden West Lego tall neck. And as you can see, this Venom statue is taller than this monster build from Lego. I've got no idea where I'm putting this.
Hey, MJ.
Hey.
Aw. They didn't have to do this. Oh, yeah! It's perfect. Brooklyn Visions is the best. I'm gonna miss this place when I go to college.
Think you're being clever?
There we go.
Come on, where are they?
This smokestack looks like my ticket in.
Self behind. There's this pawn shop in Little Odessa that specializes in...
Ma.
Maybe. Algo con brillo.
Ma, stop. Stop. Stop it. Get out of here. Dance with me. Show me how to salsa.
Eyes on the target. Pursuing.
MJ, I'm glad you called. How you doing? Won't. Give up. Give up.
Give up.
You're done, Lee. I'm not doing this anymore. You wanna know who I am? I'm the kid whose dad you killed at City Hall. What? He died because you...
got a report that Mr. Negative...
Dr. Connors, I got the suit off. It's contained. I take it you haven't changed your mind!
About saving lives? No! You?
Nope! Still not a fan of killing people! Your blade won't save you from the plague!
That pretty well. You gonna turn me in now? I'll let you know when I find him.
Flame wanted that train derailed, so he could get a symbiote. City Hall.
Go. I love you.
I love you. Hey, you get my text? City Hall is... You okay, man? I'm fine. Just keep fighting. Go. I've got this. This is more than a new suit. Whoa, what is this? Miles, where did this come from?
Oh, hey, Spider-Man.
Hey, sorry. Friend of mine.
Take all the time you need. If it helps, it looked like he was at peace.
He was. He's finally on that adventure with his wife. Don't worry, Howard. The flock is free. You got it.
Ready, set, jump! Go, Spidey! See you next time!
Look out, turkeys! New Yorker coming through! Not bad.
Honestly, we need a whole other...
Doing my best, Finn. Trying to make a city we both be proud of. Guess Uncle Aaron really is making room for the future. One floor up. Can't wait to try this tech out.
Things get messy.
Good luck, man.
Kimia? Who is it?
She's okay. Wish I could do more, though. Maybe Pete's lawyer friends could help bring this family together again.
Kimia? Who is it?
She's okay. Wish I could do more, though. Maybe Pete's lawyer friends could help bring this family together again. And Parker does it all with the home run bunt. Never in all my years have I seen one man accomplish so much by...
Unscathed. his entire family, all dead.
This whole time we were getting ready for them, and they just destroy each other? And Craven got what he wanted. At least his hunters have nowhere to hide now. We did it!
Will do what you could not.
Craven and the Chameleon are brothers? Guess he has nothing to worry about now that... Gotta keep an eye out in case he shows up again. Yuri is not gonna be happy about this.
You're welcome.
And if Miguel comes looking for these, tell him finders keepers.
Wait, who's Miguel?
What the hell was that?
I, wish I knew.
Holy what? Fire the target, That's all of them. I'll definitely let Dr. Young know about this poaching operation. It's no good for the bees, real or drone.
Go us.
Go us.
Oh, one last thing. I got a little something for you. We're in good health. Love you. Go us.
Go us.
Oh, one last thing. I got a little something for you. We're in good health. Love you.
Hell of a son you raised, Jeff. Parker Luck's back with a vengeance.
there's one thing that has become completely apparent across 3 games now, it is that Insomniac get Spider-Man. They understand the characters, their interaction, importance to the world and plot. They get the long-standing lore of the series, and then they get how to change that all around and give you a completely fresh experience, without alienating the existing fans. Something the MCU could learn a lot from. But around those amazing stories are games. So how does Spider-Man 2 stack up? Especially as PlayStation's only first-party exclusive of 2023. Within the first minute and a half after pressing Start Game, Marvel's Spider-Man 2 had me fully hooked. It's some deft storytelling that not only plays on your existing series knowledge from both the original game and Miles Morales, but also from the wider Spider-Man ethos known by pretty much everyone. This game gives an introduction for the ages. Just watch these first 90 seconds or so of the game, from the menu to when it cuts.
We're ready. Are you good?
Promise me something.
Anything.
If this doesn't work, take me out.
It'll work.
I don't have a lot of time left. I want a chance to say goodbye.
I'm not going to lose you. I will never let you go.
This cutscene has the player hooked immediately, and it's a many-layered reason as to why. It starts with the changing of the Spider-Man lore, how Venom enters the fray, who is wearing it, and even the question of if it is an alien symbiote like in Earth Prime 616 comics, or if it is a medical aid like in 1610, the Ultimate Comics and Miles' original universe. It then starts asking questions about how certain moments in Spider-Man history will play out. How does Peter get the suit? Will it go back to Harry afterwards? Is Craven Venom? Is Null part of the equation? Will we see Carnage, Scream and co? And are they the hosts of old or new incarnations? What does this mean for Norman Osborn, for Kurt Connors? In less than a minute and a half, the narrative has fully hooked the player with a single scene, and you haven't even taken control of the characters yet. It's a swift, powerful, and engaging start to the game. Now, I have to tell you that I'm a bit of a Spider-Man nerd. I have been reading the comics for most of my life, so over 30 years at this point, and have ingested nearly every bit of media otherwise. So there are moments in this game that resonate with me, the long-time fan, that may not resonate with other players. One of those moments is Peter entering the classroom as a physics teacher in his first scene in the game. This is almost directly out of J. Michael Straczynski's run of the Amazing Spider-Man comics, and is absolutely wonderful. The childlike glee of Peter for imparting knowledge, the wanting to connect with his students. Yuri Lowenthal delivers a hugely convincing, enthusiastic Peter Parker in this classroom scene, and I wish we got to see more of this angle of Peter. But the Parker look holds strong in this game, and very quickly he loses said job because Spider-Man gets in the way. Honestly, what I've just said about Peter at the start of this game? Beautiful. This is Spider-Man at its finest. The narrative then starts to flow, weaving some threads that seem disparate for an age, but start to pull together into a tapestry at around the midway point that then goes at a breakneck sewing pace to the final stop. And it all starts with a scene that many have seen by now, even those that haven't played the game, with Sandman. That's right. The first thing you do in this game as a player is fight Marco Flint, the Sandman, who just so happens to be the size of a skyscraper. This boss fight immediately off the bat serves many purposes. It is a huge set piece that shows the scale of the world that you'll be inhabiting for this entire playthrough. It shows off the upgraded graphics engine and upgraded mechanics. Things are tighter here, for example, than in the previous two titles. Swinging feels more player direct and less like the engine is just handling it. Combat feels very familiar but more honed than before. Everything feels faster, and it looks just about the best we've seen on this generation of consoles. When all of this is wrapped up in a stunning boss fight where rusty skills are dusted off, new ones are created, narrative tidbits are dropped throughout, and the entire set piece makes you, the player, feel like the ultimate superhero, the game is off to a flying start. I was super hyped after this beginning and was ready to dive into what has become an Insomniac staple now, of a hugely powerful narrative from every angle, at the centre of which is a strong emotional connection. And the story did deliver this. I honestly think this game's narrative is on par with what came before in both Marvel's Spider-Man and Miles Morales, but due to a larger cast, the delivery is far more nuanced. You see it all from different angles, you understand and feel both sides of the situation. For many, this means that the narrative will hit harder than the previous two games, whereas for others, this almost distilling of the emotional core will lessen the impact. It is still, however, a brilliant narrative experience. The game picks up not longer after Miles Morales' ending. Both Peter and Miles are still coming to terms with the losses that they experienced in the previous games. Betrayal of his mentor, Otto Octavius, and Aunt May's death for Peter, Jefferson Davis, aka Dad, and Finn's death for Miles, the latter at his own power's hand. These aren't easy things for our characters to grasp and deal with, and the squashing down of guilt that Peter Parker is so well known for is the catalyst for much of this narrative. Its links to the wider world and how it impacts the symbiote especially are extremely well done, and in the lead up to those moments, the grief and quelling of emotions is portrayed superbly by a fantastically written and acted script. It speaks to emotions many people have experienced, and witnessing the character arc play out is thoroughly satisfying and even inspiring. We all know the black suit will come off Peter and create Venom at some point. In all bar Sony's movies, that is how the story goes. And seeing him deal with the fallout of the suit and how he acted within it is actually quite inspiring. The honesty, openness, and even vulnerability of Peter in many of these post-symbiote conversations and interactions is fantastic. It's what true strength is, and Yuri Lowenthal once again delivers a stunning and fully convincing performance. Miles once again is the heart at the core of the experience. Struggling to come to terms with his father's passing and Martin Lee's hand, he holds a lot of anger and resentment, and any of us who have lost loved ones, even to natural causes or disease, understand that feeling fully. Once again, his journey with those emotions and feelings is fascinating and inspiring, and Naji Jetta delivers yet another stunning performance as Miles. Possibly his best yet. His story is another example of strength, reforming himself and the criminals around him. From his uncle, the now ex-Prowler, through to the source of his resentment and hatred, Martin Lee. You feel a similar sense of relief to the character in letting those hateful emotions of his foes go, and it gives you a wonderful moment of peace. Or at least it did for me. Harry is another impactful character, as you may have gathered from that opening scene, in far more ways than I expected before launch. His arc is actually partially adapted from an Eddie Brock arc in the comics, one of my favourite intertwined arcs too, especially the symbiote keeping Harry healthy and alive, just like it did to Eddie with his cancer in the comics. Granted, in the comics, the cancer is a lie that Venom implants in Eddie's mind to stop him leaving the symbiote behind, whereas in the game, Harry's disease is set up from long before the symbiote joins with him. Coupled with Peter's arc, and the symbiote bonding with both of them, the creation of a destructive, fearful, and powerful Venom is a natural and fantastic arc. The symbiote changes throughout the narrative from being a calm, benevolent, and healing force for Harry initially, to being an angry powerhouse ready to kill with Peter, and eventually, after being separated from Peter, Venom himself. And what a character and threat Venom is. Bigger than life, power beyond the Spider-Men, angry and destructive. Take the best Venom origin stories, the biggest threat the symbiote has ever been, and smash them together for an idea of how the character exists in Insomniac's Earth 1408 stories. But he's not the only surprising powerhouse. Mary Jane turns up the John Wick vibes massively in this game. Not only does she now have more movement options to remain stealthy and hidden, in her sections, she actually picks up a weapon too. In keeping with the character, the weapon is non-lethal, and it evolves over the course of the game, keeping each MJ mission fresh. But these are a great view of this world from the viewpoint of someone unable to web swing above it. This whole story, though, needs a catalyst. And that catalyst is Kraven the Hunter. This is the most dangerous version of Kraven I think I've ever seen. More so than even the last hunt where he buries Spider-Man alive and takes over from him to prove who is better. He is a hunter in every sense of the word, even the immoral ones. Capturing targets he thinks will be a good challenge to him, aiming for the kill on every occasion, even if they are caged. He even goes toe-to-toe with a black suit Spider-Man, and on the highest difficulty level of the game, won 7 times. He's meticulous, planning, careful, and ferocious. Imagine that age-old adage of "with prep time" that is attributed to Batman in every Versus conversation. Apply it to Kraven, but remove Batman's rules, and that should give you an idea of how great an antagonist Kraven truly is in this game. His presence is throughout the narrative, even in the Sandman fight. Lines of dialogue like, "They're coming for me," or "You're the ones who are going to need help when they get here," have such an ominous foreboding that you feel the danger of Kraven even before you see him. And these are just some of the central characters. People like Ganke and Haley in Miles' world bring a lot of humanity to the superhero game, showing what the average Joe faces in these terrible events and how they deal with that. Rio, Miles' mother, is the epitome of a strong female lead. As a side character! She verbally beats a nearly lost black suit Spidey to essentially the point of, "I'm sorry, don't hurt me, I'll do what you say." She's amazing! Side characters like Howard deliver phenomenal, enclosed, emotional stories. If you don't know who Howard is, you rescued all of his pigeons in the first game. All of these characters, their feelings, actions, and words, they create the narrative. Their emotional connections to one another create fear of the consequences. Because it is so human-driven, even with antagonists like Kraven and Venom, it is incredibly relatable to the player. For me, the nods to additional Spider-Man media throughout are also fantastic and even heighten the experience for the long-time fan. These are Easter eggs and creative choices done right. They know what they are pulling from, but don't layer the fan service on so thickly that the original narrative being told here is lost under those nice little nods. What do I mean by that? Venom's final form, for example, which I won't show you so as not to spoil it, but if you know, think King in Black. If you don't know, it takes an already impressive villain and dials him up to 13. Harry wearing Flash Thompson's Agent Venom suit before the symbiote bonds with Peter, one of the best versions of Venom from any run of any Venom story ever. This moment, when the Spider-Verse reared its head in Insomniac's universe. Or this one where the world of 1408 shows you how absent the rest of the superheroes are in New York, considering Black Cat can just easily steal a magic wand directly from the Sanctum Sanctorium. Venom creating Scream as an offspring. Cletus Cassidy being mentioned, aka Carnage. Norman Osborn blaming the Spider-Men for his losses. The G Serum. Goblin Serum, anybody? 2 after-credit scenes that blew my mind, from anticipated story beats moving into a possible 4th game, to a character reveal that I really wasn't expecting. Peter's image in flashbacks being pulled nearly directly from the pages of the Ultimate Comics. None of these detract or distract you from the core narrative. Many are little moments of, if you know, you know. Some are fully integrated into the story, such as how Peter and Venom look, and they do not feel out of place at all. In fact, those ones totally feel like they belong. Others are things that you can find in the world, culminations of side quests, nod to the wider and absent hero base, like a half-finished number 4 on a rooftop. They make the world feel alive while you're moving around it. That traversal of the world isn't drastically changed from previous titles. At least, initially. But it does feel better. I felt like I had more control over where I was going, and Insomniac offering a slider to adjust how much the game helps the player in their web swinging has brought about a new craze of Spider-Man fail videos. But as the game advances and the skill trees open up, I'll come back to that plural trees in a bit, so too does traversal advance. The big addition that we knew about pre-launch is the web wings. These aren't Batman's Arkham glide mechanics shifted into Spider-Man. For starters, the wings are much smaller here, so the length of a glide is much shorter as you lose height far quicker than in the Arkham games. This also means turning is harder. It can be upgraded through materials later in the game, but it still never feels as precise as Batman's glide. There is a unique precision and nuance to using the web wings in Spider-Man 2 though. They aren't good enough to just replace web swinging, and they aren't fun enough either. While certain side mission subsets use the wings heavily, they don't feel forced. It's natural for the narrative built up for these side quests. But they do have a place. They are a lot of fun when used in conjunction with the excellent web-swinging traversal. And when paired with the new slingshot launch, you can cover a lot of ground in New York very quickly. Additional aerial boosts unlocked later in the skill trees keep you moving in traversal free-flowing when high-rise swing points are at a minimum and can drastically extend the length of a glide. But these evolve over time. More is added to your traversal skill set as the game advances and the trees unlock. They feel natural, something new, like a sharp corner turn being added to the traversal arsenal at a time that you as the player need something new. It is excellent design and execution once more, and is so good I only used fast travel 4 times in my entire playthrough, 2 of which were to just marvel at how fast it was. This is literally one end of the map to the other, and the travel doesn't start until this progress bar fills. That is completely insane and mind-blowing. But still I only used it 4 times, because traversal is simply that good. Other than the odd interesting and different side quest, like robot bees or cycling through the park, the other main player interaction with the game is combat. Now, I didn't think that combat was bad in either Marvel's Spider-Man or in Miles Morales. I actually really enjoyed both. But Spider-Man 2 is a definite step up. Aesthetically, not a huge amount has changed. As you watch this background footage, you'll see what look like identical moves to both previous games, which narratively makes perfect sense. It is the same characters after all. And mechanically at the core of the system, that is also correct. But like God of War Ragnarok in 2022, it then builds atop that solid foundation to create a greater experience. And sometimes, it's really simple things that have a huge impact. Like the web line and double stealth takedowns. I love a good stealth game. It's why the Assassin's Creed games of old, Splinter Cell and Ghost of Tsushima, really speak to me. Allowing me to create my own pathways with web makes so much sense for Spider-Man. But I also love that these can't be an auto-win feature because of elevation changes in locations, area construction stopping their use, airborne enemies, and so on. It makes their use by the player that much more thought out and tactical. If you do fail that stealth approach though, combat can be very varied. Landing combos, as in previous games, will grant you gadgets to use in combat via holding the R1 button and then using a face button. If you do the same with L1, it is a Spider-Man specific talent. So Venom Electricity for Miles, which does evolve into a blue version of the power throughout the game, and either the Spider Legs a la Doc Ock's Superior Spider-Man, Peter's inspiration for the legs from the Spider-Geddon comic run, or symbiote powers which are recharged via dodges and parries. Oh yeah, you can parry now in Spider-Man 2. It's not a Dark Souls or Sekiro parry though. It can be used on multiple enemies, but its effectiveness grows with higher level foes. They will get their own warning signal over their head, similar to your spider sense going off, and when that turns red, you can parry them and open up an attack window. All of this doesn't really sound like much when laid out that way, and there are aspects missing from previous games which I don't like. Marvel's Spider-Man, for example, had impact webbing. This was great for stealth or high-rise encounters, as you could knock foes into a wall and immediately immobilize them with webbing, or knock them off the building completely, ending any engagement with them really quickly. Web bombs were a personal favourite of mine for incapacitating a group of enemies from stealth, or giving me a breather in open combat. And considering they appear in the current Marvel Unlimited series, where Spider-Man from Earth 616 Prime and Earth 1408 Insomniac are universe hopping together after the Spot, not seeing them return in-game felt like a miss. Miles' hard light training dummies that help him in combat don't return, and there is no gadget wheel at all this time. This feels like a purposeful streamlining of the combat and gadget system, and makes the conversation around it that bit smaller. But while I did miss these aspects in certain moments, when you are going full symbiote power, thoughts about them quickly fade into the background. But the skill trees offer new ways to fight as well. There are 3 skill trees in total in this game. One for Peter, one for Miles, and one that they share. There is also a suit tech upgrade path for traversal and combat passive upgrades, and a gadgets upgrade path for gadget power and effectiveness. The suit tech upgrade path unlocks an interesting way to fight, because the longer you stay airborne for, the more damage you do to enemies. To make this effective, you want to upgrade your web yank abilities to be able to pull foes into the air, and then you need to marry that with gameplay of dodging, boosting, swinging and gliding to stay airborne for combat encounters. As you can see, one upgrade option on one of the skill tree paths created a large knock-on effect into how you play the game. And this is true throughout these paths and trees. I love the Spider Arms Tornado that webs people to walls, but it only does the webbing to walls after 2 additional upgrades in Peter's skill tree. I then love the Symbiote Punch that does similar, just a bit more brutally. I can use the ability screen to modify which of these Spider-Man skills are selected, then mix and match to a degree, changing combat to my personal preferred way of fighting. While talking directly about combat is limited due to a purposeful streamlining of some aspects of the game, when you add the skill trees and upgrade paths in, it becomes far more nuanced and complex. Some of the skills tie into the story and are major revelatory moments, so I won't go into this in depth. But know that combat feels amazing throughout, and even when you are feeling overpowered by, say, Venom, you know you have the tools at your disposal, as long as you can execute, that will allow you to succeed. All of this is sounding really positive. I haven't really had a bad thing to say about the game yet, and looking at the game from a technical perspective, that feeling continues, for the most part. This is the first time since Returnal in 2021 that I have truly noticed the Dualsense controller in my hand, and that is such a sad thing to say when this controller helps immerse you further. Spider-Man 2 does an amazing job of giving you feedback through the Dualsense. From the trigger tightening when you grip with a newly shot web, to the feedback of the haptics on a successful parry. From puzzle solving that uses the resistive triggers in possibly their best implementation yet, to the speaker having your phone ring around your pocket area. There are so many little, subtle, but impactful implementations of the controller that really help you dive further into the game. I played on performance mode, because 30 frames per second nowadays makes one feel very nauseous, and I was slightly disappointed about the resolution on this mode. From the positive side, the resolution was locked and didn't adjust throughout my entire playthrough. On the negative though, that resolution was only 1080p. Maybe I've been spoiled with God of War Ragnarok, Final Fantasy XVI, Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut and others, offering me a minimum of 1800p on that 60fps mode, and expect too much of these new gen only titles. But 1080p? In 2023? On a brand new game? On a console that claims it can do 8K? Just does not seem good enough, even if it is a locked 60 frames per second. Looking back at Miles Morales and Spider-Man Remastered, both of those games offered a performance ray tracing mode, which gave those 1080p visuals at 40 to 60 frames variable, and ray tracing was turned on. For Spider-Man 2, ray tracing is always on, no matter what mode you choose, which, as it is a supposed big feature of the console, is nice to see. But personally, I never noticed ray tracing in games, and an option to have higher visual fidelity with the 60fps frame rate would be a nice thing to have, especially as HDR is functional on all modes. Maybe it'll come in a future update, and for most people, it won't be a factor on their radar at all. But for those of us who do notice visual differences, A higher resolution, high frame rate mode would be nice. Also disappointing is missing accessibility features that were in previous games. Closed captions for off-screen sounds and music, for example, aren't available at the time of writing, but they were available at launch in both previous games. That seems like an obvious backwards step and is incredibly questionable and frustrating. Otherwise, the accessibility settings are robust with plentiful options for vision, hearing, motor, and motion sensitivity people. You can select certain full colour options for enemies, for example, or have speakers' names in different colours and sizes alongside the subtitles. For motor-sensitive people, you can slow down time in combat to allow you to reach the appropriate button, either on the Dualsense itself or Sony's new accessibility controller. There is a large selection of options available, and you can slow the background footage down here if you'd like to see more of what options are offered. And those missing features I mentioned earlier? They are coming in an update to the game in December 2023. Let's just hope that those who need these features also have a good enough internet connection to download them. There's then the usual gripes about chromatic aberration, film grain, and motion blur. A serious question for developers here. Why do these settings exist, and why are they turned on and up to maximum by default? All three of these settings literally make the game look worse. Is it for the 4K fidelity mode? Are they meant to make that less travel sickness inducing? If so, they don't work. I captured this footage and then had to go lie down for an hour to recover from the travel sickness. Every time I see these settings, I'm completely baffled by their existence. I appreciate offering the choice to people, but these should not be turned on by default, let alone cranked up to the maximum. Outside of these few gripes though, and even including them as some can just be turned off, the game allows you to customize it so the experience is as tailored and comfortable for you as possible, raising the already high bar that gameplay and narrative have set even higher. One aspect that does hold this package back from perfection though, and by a lot given its impact, is its technical performance. This is a shocking statement to make for an Insomniac game, given their track record. Going all the way back to Spyro the Dragon, I cannot think of a bug that I have encountered in an Insomniac game before Spider-Man 2. That's a near 30-year blemish-free record, decimated by one release. Because Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is one of the buggiest releases that I have played in 2023. Even after 2 patches, I'm still encountering situations like this, where NPCs just don't react to a giant shelving unit being dropped upon them, or to their friend being yoinked into the sky and stuck to a wall. Or situations like this, where Miles is just walking in the air. Pete loses synchronization with his bike's pedals, or continues to try and fly through a wall rather than landing on the ledge. But these are minor bugs. They're annoying and break immersion, sure, but they don't prevent the game from advancing or seriously negatively impact your experience. Unlike getting stuck under this table. This gameplay you are seeing in the background is me trying to escape from being underneath a stationary table, which I am only under because it is a scripted event in the game. I'm using both sticks, the full D-pad, all face and shoulder buttons, and while there is minor movement, I'm not going forward easily or at all. The way I actually got out was by holding the controller one-handed and just shaking it violently, and then Pete magically popped out. I still don't know what I actually did to resolve it. This roadblock should not be the culmination of a scripted event. But it gets worse when you change suit in game, and this screen pops up. Yup, my game crashed 3 times just by changing Spider-Man's suit in a menu. And these are the only game crashes I had. How about this glitch where an NPC that I need to defeat to advance is stuck inside the wall? Or this intense close-up of Peter's face in a cutscene, which is covered by his coat that's freaking out. I literally do not know what this scene is meant to look like. Oh yeah, and the game wouldn't install on many UK systems, getting stuck at 38% no matter what the user tried, even with different versions of the game. But these bugs even affect accessibility. Watch this little scene here, not too long after that stuck in the wall enemy, where the subtitles don't line up with what's happening on screen.
Police are still fishing, but there's no sign of them. Any luck upriver? Nothing but debris. Who were those guys? Whoever they are, they're packing some serious tech. And now they got all that, plus Scorpion and Lee. Hey, whatever they're planning, we'll find them. We'll stop them. Yeah.
4 times I encountered unsynced subtitles. A bug I have literally never encountered before in any game from any development studio. To the point that I didn't even realize that that could be a bug. Even Redfall managed to get that bit right. Throughout this entire game, bugs impacted the entire experience. And it wasn't just me who encountered this sort of thing. My podcast co-host Rudigs had this rather bouncy NPC stop him advancing until the NPC returned to Earth for him to defeat. My partner fell through the damn map while swinging, which unfortunately I do not have footage of as she doesn't make content, so wasn't recording. I've heard reports of NPCs spawning waist deep in concrete. I've seen in my game pedestrians struggle with avoiding the most dangerous of foes. A bollard. The list does go on. 1 or 2 of these could be forgiven, and even be a bit funny. Spider Cube being one of the glitches that the entire community actually loved. But this quantity, in a single playthrough, that are this impactful to the player, this isn't good enough for the £70 asking price. I expect it's because the game had to release in 2023, or Sony would be without a first-party exclusive for the calendar year, something they mocked Xbox for in 2022. But if this poor technical performance, from a studio known for exceptional technical performances of 3 previous decades, is the price that we, the players, have to pay to have a year that isn't barren of first-party releases, I'd rather take an empty year and have a game that performs as well as the sum of its other parts deserves upon release. All up, I think Marvel's Spider-Man 2 from Insomniac Games is a great game, held back by subpar performance. Depending on your stomach for such things, those bugs, crashes and glitches could be a deal breaker for you, and you should therefore steer clear of the game in that regard. If you can look past the performance issues or even wait until they are fixed with patches, which will probably also mean the game is cheaper by that point, the story, characterization, gameplay and overall experience are up there with the best that I've had in 2023, and in such a stacked year, that is high praise indeed. But it has launched with those performance issues, and I was considering dropping the game for a while until the patches fixed the challenges I was facing. As a narratively driven gamer though, I'm glad I didn't. Although this title didn't hit me as hard as the previous 2 releases, simply owing to the fact that this is a Venom story and they have been told many times before, it still left me feeling as satisfied. This isn't the longest game on the market right now, and I realise that's a problem for some people. For some players, in-game time divided by the cost of it is how they draw value from a release. For me, however, it is the quality of the experience, not the length of it, that matters. I would much rather have a high-quality 30-hour experience that leaves me wanting more than a 300-hour experience that I am bored of by the 35-hour mark. The length of a game to me is not part of the value proposition. It is the content within those hours, how it is delivered and how it keeps me engaged, that matters. In the 26 hours I played of Spider-Man 2, I completed the whole thing on the Spectacular difficulty, which you have to beat to unlock the Ultimate difficulty, and earn the Platinum Trophy. Something I didn't do with Final Fantasy XVI earlier in the year, so Spider-Man 2 kept me more engaged. Can I recommend this game? If you're watching this review after February 2024, 100%. In this time frame, the performance issues I have mentioned should be patched out. The game itself is awesome, a great experience and proof that Insomniac really knows how to deliver a quality distilled experience that, even at that full cost, I think is worth it. Before that sort of time frame though, it's more of a cautious recommendation. The quality of the underlying game won't change. It's still going to be awesome. But the performance at launch and 3 weeks after just isn't good enough, and it is a serious negative impact upon your play experience. So depending when you're watching this, depends on how highly I recommend the game. Which is a concerning conclusion for PlayStation given that this is the only first-party exclusive in 2023. They have, however, had third-party exclusive games in 2023, and feel free to check out this video of Final Fantasy XVI, one of the other exclusive games. In the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in, have yourselves a fantastic day, and take care.